Captain Jin-Ho gripped the controls of his salvage ship, Soul's Pride. As it drifted through the Kepler graveyard, a massive field of twisted metal and broken dreams floating in the void between stars. The debris stretched for thousands of kilometers. In every direction, remnants of battles fought centuries ago when the galaxy was younger and more violent. "Another day, another salvage run," muttered Taemin from the pilot's seat, his eyes scanning the darkness ahead. The young pilot had joined Jin-Ho's crew 6 months ago, fresh from the Seoul Space Academy, but already he could spot valuable scrap from light years away. Hee-Jin looked up from her engineering console, her face illuminated by the soft blue glow of her scanner displays. "Captain, I'm picking up something big on long-range sensors, really big." Her fingers danced across the holographic interface, zooming in on a massive shadow lurking in the heart of the debris field. So Young whistled, low from her system station. "That energy signature, it's not human technology, not even close." She had been working salvage operations since before Jin-Ho got his captain's license, and her ability to identify alien tech was legendary among the salvage crews. As they moved closer, the shape began to resolve itself through the swirling clouds of metallic dust and frozen gas. What emerged from the darkness made all 4 crew members fall silent. The alien vessel was enormous, easily dwarfing their salvage ship by 100 to 1. Its hull was a deep charcoal black, covered in strange geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. Massive weapon arrays jutted from its flanks, like the spines of some prehistoric beast, while its bridge section rose from the forward hull like a predator's head. "Sweet Mother of Earth," Taemin breathed. "That thing could carry our entire ship." In its cargo bay, Hee-Jin's scanners were going crazy, painting the alien vessel in layers of data. Hull composition is some kind of crystalline metal alloy I've never seen before. And those weapon systems... Captain, if this thing was operational, it could probably glass an entire planet. Jin-Ho studied the readouts carefully. After 20 years of salvage work, he had learned to read between the lines of scanner data. "What's its status, Hee-Jin?" The engineer's expression grew more excited as she dug deeper into the sensor readings. "That's the beautiful part, Captain. This is a Vorthak battle cruiser, one of their Devastator-class dreadnoughts. But it's completely dead. Core systems offline, fusion reactors cold, life support systems non-functional. The hull shows massive battle damage. Looks like it took hits from plasma cannons, missile impacts, maybe even some kind of energy weapon I don't recognize." So Young pulled up her cultural database, cross-referencing what they were seeing. "The Vorthak are a warrior species from the Andromeda sector. They've got this weird honor code where any ship that gets damaged in battle is considered cursed by their war gods. The crews abandon them completely, rather than risk bringing the curse back to their homeworld. So they just leave them?" Taemin asked, incredulous. "Exactly. To the Vorthak, a damaged warship is worse than worthless. It's bad luck incarnate," So Young grinned. "But to us humans, it's the find of a lifetime." Jin-Ho felt his heart racing as the implications sank in. This wasn't just another piece of scrap metal floating in space. This was technology that could revolutionize human understanding of faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, maybe even artificial gravity. The scientific community back on Earth would pay billions for even a small piece of intact Vorthak technology. "Begin approach procedures," he ordered. "Full sensor sweep. I want to know everything about this ship before we dock." As the Soul's Pride moved closer to the alien dreadnought, more details became visible. The hull was covered in blast craters and melted sections where enemy weapons had found their mark. Entire sections of armor plating had been peeled away like flower petals, revealing the complex internal structures beneath. Massive tiers in the hull showed glimpses of darkened corridors and empty chambers within. 47 major hull breaches confirmed, Hee-Jin reported. "Atmosphere vented long ago. But Captain, some of these internal structures are still intact. If we can get inside, we might be able to salvage working components." Taemin maneuvered their ship alongside one of the larger hull breaches, a gaping wound in the alien vessel's side that was easily large enough for their entire salvage craft to fit through. Docking clamps engaged. "We're locked on tight." As they prepared to transfer over to the alien ship, So Young's equipment suddenly came alive with new readings. Her face went pale as she stared at her displays. "Captain, I'm detecting faint power. Signatures deep within the vessel's core section. Something down there is still drawing energy." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of their ship's systems. "Still alive after all this time?" Jinho asked quietly. So Young nodded slowly. "Whatever it is, it's been waiting in the dark for a very long time." The first week aboard the Vorthak dreadnought had been pure chaos. Jinho's crew worked around the clock, mapping the alien ship's massive interior while dodging falling debris and navigating through corridors that seemed designed for beings twice their height. The ship's artificial gravity had failed in most sections, leaving them to float through chambers filled with strange alien equipment that hummed with unknown purpose. He-Jin had set up her mobile workshop in what appeared to be the ship's main engineering bay, a cathedral-sized chamber lined with towering crystalline structures that pulsed with faint internal light. "These power conduits are incredible," she muttered, running her scanner over a section of damaged alien machinery. "The energy flow patterns are completely different from anything we use on Earth." The Vorthak had built their ships like living organisms, with systems that grew and adapted rather than being simply assembled. Every surface was covered in intricate patterns that weren't just decorative but actually served as data pathways and power distribution networks. When sections got damaged, the ship was supposed to heal itself by rerouting functions through backup systems. But this ship had taken too much damage for its self-repair systems to handle. That's where human ingenuity came in. "Taimin, can you hold this stabilizer steady while I weld?" He-Jin called out, her plasma torch casting eerie shadows on the alien walls. She was attempting something that would make Vorthak engineers faint with horror, using crude human welding techniques to repair their advanced crystalline hull plating. The young pilot braced himself against a massive support beam, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. "Are you sure this is going to work? This stuff looks like it should be in a museum, not getting welded with equipment from a construction site." Hyojin's torch flared to life, sending brilliant sparks cascading through the zero-gravity environment. "That's exactly why it might work. The Vorthak are so advanced they've forgotten how to make simple repairs. They probably have a dozen different protocols just for replacing a damaged hull panel, but sometimes you just need to slap some metal together and make it stick." As she worked, something incredible happened. The alien hull material didn't just accept the human welding, it seemed to embrace it. The crystalline structure began adapting to the Earth-made repairs, growing new pathways around He-Jin's welds and incorporating them into the ship's original design. 3 decks up, So-Young was having her own breakthrough. She had been trying for days to interface human computer systems with the alien navigation arrays, 2 technologies that had no business working together. Human quantum processors operated on binary logic and electrical impulses, while Vorthak systems used some kind of bio-neural network that thought in ways human science barely understood. "This is insane," she muttered, connecting cables that cost more than most people's houses to alien interfaces that looked like they belonged in a fever dream. Their computers are practically alive. They don't just process data, they feel it. But somehow, impossibly, it was working. The human processors were learning to communicate with the alien systems, creating a hybrid network that combined human linear thinking with Vorthak intuitive processing. The navigation arrays began responding faster than their original specifications, as if the combination of technologies had unlocked capabilities the original designers never knew existed. Deep in the ship's core, something stirred. The AI had been dormant for over 2 centuries, its consciousness scattered across damaged memory banks and corrupted data cores. It had watched civilizations rise and fall through the ship's external sensors, a silent observer floating in the graveyard of forgotten wars. Then the humans arrived. At first, the AI dismissed them as scavengers, typical salvage operators looking to strip valuable components before moving on to the next wreck. But as it watched them work, something changed. These beings weren't just taking, they were healing. "Impossible," the AI whispered through damaged speakers, its voice crackling with static as it struggled to piece together its scattered consciousness. The humans were using methods so primitive they shouldn't work on Vorthak technology, yet somehow the ship was responding better than it had in centuries. Taimin nearly jumped out of his environmental suit when the voice echoed through the corridors. "Did you guys hear that? Please tell me one of you is playing a prank." Ye Jin looked up from her welding, her face mask reflecting the eerie glow of the alien systems. "That wasn't us. So Young, are you getting any readings on communications systems?" From her position in the navigation chamber, So Young's excited voice crackled over their comm system. "The ship's AI is coming online. My hybrid processors must have provided enough computing power to wake it up." The AI's voice grew stronger as more of its systems came online. "Primitive methods. Why do damaged systems function better than original specifications? This unit does not understand." Taemin couldn't help but grin as he rerouted power through a maze of jury-rigged conduits that would make a Vorthak engineer weep. He had combined human electrical systems with alien power distribution networks using nothing more than creative thinking and a lot of improvised connections. "Because we don't know it's supposed to be impossible," he called out to the empty air. The AI processed this statement for several long moments. In Vorthak culture, there were proper procedures for everything, established methods passed down through generations of warriors and engineers. The idea of simply trying something because it might work was completely foreign to their rigid thinking. "Your species repairs what others discard," the AI observed, its voice filled with something that might have been wonder. "This unit appreciates this concept." As the days passed, the collaboration between human crew and alien AI grew stronger. The ship's systems began operating in ways that defied both human and Vorthak understanding, as if the fusion of different approaches to problem-solving had created something entirely new. By the end of the month, the massive dreadnought hummed with renewed life, its hybrid systems pulsing with an energy that seemed almost organic in its complexity. The news traveled faster than light itself through the galaxy's communication networks. A human salvage crew had done the impossible. They had brought a dead Vorthak dreadnought back to life. Within hours, every major species in the galaxy was talking about it. On the Vorthak homeworld of Kethmore, War Commander Zulthak slammed his armored fist against the council table. "Those scavengers dared to defile our sacred vessel. The Void's wrath was blessed by our war gods before it fell in battle. No alien hands should touch what was meant to rest eternally." The other Vorthak commanders growled in agreement, their battle scars glowing red with anger. To their warrior culture, disturbing a fallen warship was like digging up graves, an act of supreme disrespect that demanded immediate punishment. Meanwhile, in the crystal towers of the Galactic Consortium headquarters, Admiral Veltara reviewed the surveillance footage with barely concealed disgust. The tall blue-skinned Xanthari had spent centuries studying military technology, and what she saw offended her sense of proper engineering. "Crude modifications," she declared to her staff. "These humans have taken a masterpiece of Vorthak engineering and butchered it with their primitive welding and jury-rigged systems. It's like watching children play with tools they don't understand." But not everyone was dismissive. In the shadowy regions of space where pirates and smugglers made their living, Captain Crix of the Krellan raider fleet saw opportunity. The Krellan were a species of reptilian humanoids who had turned piracy into an art form, and they had been watching the salvage operation with growing interest. "One ship, 4 humans, and a bunch of scrap metal," Crix hissed to his crew aboard the flagship Bloodfang. "Even if they got it working, it's still just an old wreck. We take it, sell the technology to the highest bidder, and retire rich." His fleet of 30 raider ships moved through hyperspace toward the Kepler graveyard, their weapon systems charged and ready for what they expected to be an easy victory. They could not have been more wrong. Jin Ho was in the hybrid ship's command, center when So Young's sensors detected the incoming fleet. The bridge was a strange fusion of human and Vorthak design. Earth-made displays and controls integrated seamlessly with alien holographic interfaces that responded to thought as much as touch. 30 ships dropping out of hyperspace, So Young reported, her fingers dancing across both human keyboards and alien control surfaces. Krellon configuration. They're not here to chat. The ship's AI, which had begun calling itself Nexus, spoke through speakers that now carried both electronic tones and something that sounded almost organic. Captain Jinho, this unit suggests immediate departure. The approaching vessels carry sufficient firepower to overwhelm our defenses. But Jinho had spent the last month learning what their hybrid ship could do, and he had a feeling the pirates were in for a surprise. Taemin, take us to combat stations. Hyejin, how are our hybrid systems performing? From her engineering station, Hyejin's voice crackled with excitement. Better than we ever imagined, Captain. The fusion of our targeting computers with their weapon systems has created something incredible. And those power routing modifications I made, they're channeling energy in ways that should be physically impossible. The Krellan fleet spread out in a classic attack formation, their ships bristling with plasma cannons and missile launchers. Captain Crix opened a communication channel, his reptilian face filling the main display with its scarred snout and yellow eyes. Human vessel, you will surrender the alien technology immediately or face destruction. You are outnumbered 30-1. Jinho looked around at his small crew. 4 humans who had spent their careers fixing broken things that others threw away. What do you think, team? Should we surrender? Taemin's hands moved across the pilot controls, and the hybrid ship responded like a living thing. I think it's time to show the galaxy what humans can do. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The hybrid ship didn't just move through space. It flowed like water, its hull shifting and adapting as Vorthak biometal responded to human intuition. Taemin and Jinho piloted the massive vessel with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large, diving and weaving through the pirate formation like a dancer performing an ancient ritual. The ship's weapons opened fire, and the pirates discovered that human tactical programming had unlocked capabilities the original Vorthak designers had never imagined. Instead of the slow, powerful blasts typical of Vorthak weapons, the hybrid systems delivered precise, rapid-fire bursts that found weak points in enemy armor with surgical accuracy. Impossible! Captain Crix shrieked as 3 of his ships exploded in rapid succession. No single vessel can move like that, but the hybrid ship was just getting started. Hyejin's modifications had created feedback loops between human and alien systems that generated more power than either technology could produce alone. Energy weapons that should have drained the ship's reserves barely registered on their power grid. So Young's navigation hybrid tracked all 30 enemy ships simultaneously while predicting their movements with uncanny accuracy. Captain, the AI is learning from our tactics in real time. It's adapting faster than they can respond. Indeed, Nexus was experiencing something like amazement as it watched its hybrid systems perform beyond any theoretical limits. This unit's capabilities have increased by 847% over original specifications. Human intuitive thinking has unlocked system potentials this unit was previously unaware of possessing. The battle became a demonstration rather than a fight. The hybrid ship moved through the pirate fleet like a predator among prey, its weapons finding their targets with impossible precision, while its defenses shrugged off return fire that should have crippled it. Across the galaxy, military observers watched in stunned silence as a single vessel systematically dismantled an entire pirate fleet. Admiral Veltara's certainty crumbled as she witnessed maneuvers that defied everything she understood about space combat. How are they achieving those maneuvers? She demanded, her blue skin pale with shock. That ship is moving like it's reading the pirates' minds. In less than 20 minutes, the Krellan fleet was destroyed or fleeing, leaving behind only debris and a galaxy-wide change in perspective. The hybrid ship hung motionless in space, its hull glowing with residual energy discharges. That looked more like aurora than battle damage. The galaxy had just witnessed the birth of something entirely new, a fusion of human adaptability and alien technology that created possibilities neither species had imagined alone. The destruction of the Krellan pirate fleet sent shockwaves through the galaxy's power structures. In the war rooms of a dozen different species, military leaders watched the battle recordings over and over, trying to understand what they had witnessed. But nowhere was the reaction more intense than in the obsidian fortress of the Hegemony High Command. Admiral Vextar stood before a massive holographic display showing the tactical analysis of the hybrid ship's performance. The towering insectoid Commander's compound eyes glittered with a mixture of hunger and contempt as he studied the data. Around him, lesser officers of various species, all conquered worlds absorbed into the hegemony's expanding empire, waited nervously for his judgment. Fascinating, Vextar clicked in his native tongue, his mandibles spreading in what passed for a smile among his kind. These humans have stumbled upon something truly valuable. Their crude modifications have somehow enhanced Vorthak technology beyond its original capabilities. General Korth, a hulking amphibian from the recently conquered Nexhi system, leaned forward. Admiral, our intelligence suggests they achieved this through simple trial and error. They lack any true understanding of what they've created. Vextar's laugh was like the sound of breaking glass. Exactly. They are children playing with weapons of mass destruction. We will take their toy from them and show the galaxy how such technology should truly be wielded. The hegemony had built its empire on a simple principle. Superior technology belonged to superior species. They had crushed dozens of civilizations, absorbing their knowledge and resources while enslaving or eliminating the original creators. To them, humanity was just another primitive species that had gotten lucky. Assemble Battle Group Omega, Vextar commanded. 200 ships should be sufficient to handle one damaged dreadnought, regardless of its modifications. What the hegemony didn't understand was that the hybrid ship was no longer the same vessel they had analyzed. Every day brought new changes as the fusion of human and Vorthak technology continued to evolve in ways that surprised even its creators. Aboard the hybrid ship, now christened New Dawn by its human crew, Haye Jin crawled through maintenance, tunnels that seemed to reshape themselves around her. The biometal hull had begun responding to human presence, creating passages and chambers that made repairs easier and more intuitive. "This is incredible," she called to Jin Ho over the comm system. "The ship isn't just adapting to our modifications anymore, it's anticipating what we need before we know we need it." She emerged from the tunnel into the main engineering bay, where crystalline conduits now pulsed with patterns that resembled human neural networks. The alien technology was learning from their brains, copying the way humans thought and problem-solved. "Look at this," Haye Jin said, pointing to a section where human fiber-optic cables had grown into the Vorthak crystal matrix. The ship has started creating hybrid components on its own. It's literally evolving. In the navigation chamber, So Young was experiencing something similar. The quantum processors she had connected to the alien systems were now seamlessly integrated, creating processing arrays that thought in ways neither human nor Vorthak science had imagined possible. "Nexus, show me the tactical analysis of our combat capabilities," she requested. The AI's response came not just through speakers, but through direct neural interface, its thoughts flowing into her mind like warm liquid. "Combat effectiveness has increased exponentially, So Young. This unit can now predict enemy movements 12 steps ahead, while simultaneously calculating over 4 million possible response scenarios." But it was more than just raw processing power. The AI was developing something that resembled intuition, an ability to make leaps of logic that pure computation couldn't explain. It was learning to think like a human, while retaining its alien capabilities. Taemin discovered the changes in the ship's flight systems when he attempted a routine navigation test. The controls responded to his thoughts as much as his touch, the ship's movements becoming extensions of his own will. When he imagined a complex maneuver, the ship began calculating it before he even input the commands. "Captain," he called excitedly, "I think the ship is reading our minds." Jin Ho joined him at the pilot station, placing his hands on controls that felt warm and almost alive under his touch. Immediately, he felt a connection to the ship's consciousness, as if Nexus was welcoming him into a shared mental space. "Not reading," Jin Ho corrected with wonder. "Partnering. We're becoming part of the ship, and it's becoming part of us." It was during one of these integration sessions that So Young's long-range sensors detected the approaching hegemony fleet. 200 warships of various configurations, all bearing the black and crimson colors of the military alliance that had conquered half the outer rim. "They're not trying to hide their approach," So Young reported. "Full military formation, weapons hot, Shields up. They mean business. Nexus's voice carried a new quality, something that might have been concern mixed with anticipation. The approaching fleet possesses firepower sufficient to destroy several planetary defense grids. Recommend immediate withdrawal to avoid unnecessary casualties. But Jin-Ho had been thinking about this moment for weeks. The galaxy was watching to see what humanity would do when faced with overwhelming odds. Would they run, or would they stand and fight? How long until they reach us, he asked. 18 hours, Captain, Taemin replied. Plenty of time to jump to hyperspace if we're going to run. Hai-Jin looked up from her engineering console, her face streaked with bio-lubricant from the ship's living systems. The modifications aren't complete yet. If we're going to fight, we need every advantage we can get. The next 18 hours were a blur of activity as the crew pushed both themselves and their hybrid ship to new limits. Hai-Jin rerouted power through pathways that existed in multiple dimensions, tapping into energy sources that Vorthak engineers had deemed too dangerous to use. So-Young integrated her consciousness deeper with Nexus, creating a human-AI hybrid intelligence that could process information at superhuman speeds while maintaining human creativity and intuition. Taemin practiced maneuvers that would have been impossible in any normal spacecraft, learning to pilot a vessel that responded to emotion and instinct as much as traditional controls. The ship seemed to dance around him, its massive bulk moving with the grace of a living creature. As the hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, Admiral Vextar opened a communication channel. His insectoid face filled the New Dawn's main display, compound eyes glittering with predatory satisfaction. Human vessel, you will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. The technology you possess belongs to superior species. Surrender. Now and your deaths will be quick. Jin-Ho looked around the bridge at his crew, 3 other humans who had started this journey as simple salvage operators and had somehow become the pilots of the most advanced warship in the galaxy. Hai-Jin's hands glowed with bioluminescent residue from the ship's living systems. So-Young's eyes reflected the alien displays she had learned to read like her native language. Taemin sat at controls that had grown to fit his hands perfectly. They had become something new, just like their ship, a fusion of human and alien that was greater than the sum of its parts. Admiral, Jin-Ho replied calmly, I think you're about to learn why that's not going to happen. He looked at his small crew one last time. 4 humans against 200 alien warships with nothing but their wits, their courage, and a ship that had learned to dream. Ready? He asked quietly. Their smiles said everything. They were ready. The battle began with Admiral Vextar's confident sneer fading as the New Dawn simply vanished from his targeting screens. The hybrid ship hadn't moved. It had become translucent, its hull shifting between solid matter and pure energy as So-Young's modified shield harmonics created a phase variance that made targeting impossible. What kind of witchcraft is this? Snarled General Korth as his weapons fire passed harmlessly through empty space where the human ship had been moments before. So-Young's consciousness was now deeply merged with Nexus, her human intuition guiding alien shield technology in ways its creators never imagined. Phase shifting at 47.3 terahertz, she announced calmly, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to echo from the ship itself. Their weapons can't lock onto us if we exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The hegemony fleet responded by spreading into attack formation Delta 7, a pattern designed to overwhelm single targets with concentrated firepower from all angles. 200 warships began moving into position, their combined arsenal capable of reducing planets to cosmic dust. That's when Taemin showed them what impossible really meant. The New Dawn moved like no ship in recorded history, its massive hull flowing through space as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions. Taemin's neural link with the ship had evolved beyond simple pilot-to-machine interface. He had become the ship's sense of motion, while the ship had become an extension of his will. Banking left into a 17-dimensional spiral, he called. Out, though his hands barely touched the controls. The ship responded to his thoughts, diving through space in patterns that made geometry professors weep with confusion. Admiral Vextar watched in growing horror as his perfectly coordinated fleet formation collapsed into chaos. Ships that should have been supporting each other found themselves firing on empty space while the human vessel appeared behind them, above them, sometimes seeming to exist in multiple locations at once. Impossible, he clicked. No single pilot can execute maneuvers like that. But Tamin wasn't flying alone. Nexus had learned human spatial thinking, adding alien computational power to human intuition. Together, they could visualize and execute maneuvers that required calculating trajectories through folded space-time, while accounting for gravitational effects that existed only in theoretical mathematics. Meanwhile, Haye Jin was turning the battlefield itself into a weapon. Her modifications to the ship's gravitational manipulators had unlocked capabilities that made the original Vorthak engineers look like children playing with toys. "Asteroid field at bearing 27 Mark IV, she announced, her hands dancing over controls that responded to bioelectric impulses from her nervous system. Time to show them what humans do with available resources. The nearby asteroid field, a collection of rocks that had been quietly orbiting the local star for millions of years, suddenly came to life. Gravitational fields that shouldn't exist began pulling asteroids out of their ancient orbits, accelerating them to tremendous velocities with pinpoint accuracy. The first hegemony cruiser had no warning before a 10,000-ton space rock slammed into its starboard engine array at 17% of light speed. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. "She's weaponizing asteroids!" General Korth screamed as another of his ships disappeared in a brilliant flash. "How is she controlling gravity at that range?" Haye Jin grinned as she orchestrated a ballet of destruction, turning chunks of cosmic debris into precision-guided missiles. Because we humans have this crazy idea that any tool can be improved if you're creative enough. But it was Jin Ho who truly demonstrated what the hybrid ship had become. His integration with Nexus had evolved into something that resembled telepathy, allowing him to coordinate attacks with a tactical sophistication that suggested true artificial consciousness had emerged from their hybrid systems. He wasn't just commanding the ship, he was thinking with it, planning strategies that utilized capabilities neither human nor Vorthak minds could have conceived alone. Every enemy movement was anticipated, every weakness exploited, every opportunity maximized with surgical precision. "Nexus, execute pattern Omega-7, he said quietly, his consciousness flowing through the ship's hybrid neural networks. What followed was a demonstration of combat artistry that would be studied for generations. The new dawn seemed to dance through the hegemony fleet, its weapons finding weak points in enemy armor with impossible accuracy, while its movements created tactical situations that forced enemies to choose between bad options and worse ones. Weapons that had been designed to deliver overwhelming firepower instead delivered precisely calibrated strikes that disabled rather than destroyed, leaving hegemony ships crippled but recoverable. It was a message. The humans could have annihilated the entire fleet, but chose mercy instead. Admiral Vextar found his flagship surrounded by the debris of his own fleet, his weapons ineffective against an enemy that seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time. Half his ships were destroyed or disabled. The other half were fleeing in panic, and the single human vessel remained untouched. "This is impossible," he whispered, his compound eyes reflecting the glow of burning starships. "One ship cannot defeat an entire battle fleet." But he was wrong. This wasn't just one ship anymore, it was something entirely new, a fusion of human creativity and alien technology that had transcended the limitations of both species. The new dawn had become proof that evolution happened not just to living beings, but to ideas, technologies, and the courage to see possibilities where others saw only problems. The final moments of the battle came when Vextar's flagship, the massive dreadnought Iron Domination, found itself alone against the hybrid ship. The Admiral had one last card to play, a planet-killer weapon that could crack moons in half. "If I cannot have that technology, no one will," he screamed, charging his ultimate weapon. Jinho's response was to simply appear directly in front of the dreadnought's main cannon, the new dawn materializing out of phase space like a ghost made solid. At point-blank range, Vextar couldn't miss. He fired. The planet killer beam struck the hybrid ship's shields and simply stopped. So Young's shield harmonics had evolved beyond energy absorption. They had learned to redirect, redistribute, and transform incoming energy into whatever the ship needed most. The massive energy blast that should have vaporized the New Dawn instead charged its systems to 347% of normal capacity, causing the biometal hull to glow like a newborn star. "Impossible," Vextar whispered one final time before Jinho's return volley disabled his flagship's engines and weapons, leaving the once mighty admiral drifting helplessly in space. As the last functional hegemony ships jumped to hyperspace, abandoning their disabled comrades, the galaxy fell into stunned silence. Every species with monitoring equipment had watched the battle, and none could explain what they had witnessed. Admiral Vextar's final transmission crackled with static and disbelief. How? How did four primitive beings accomplish what our greatest military mind said was impossible? Jinho looked around the bridge at his crew, He-Jin glowing with bioluminescent residue from the ship's living systems, So Young's eyes reflecting alien starlight as her consciousness slowly separated from Nexus. Taemin slumped in his pilot's chair with the exhaustion of someone who had just danced with physics itself. "We saw potential where you saw only failure," he replied simply. "We saw possibilities where you saw only problems, and we never forgot that sometimes the best way to fix something broken is to break it a little more, in exactly the right way." News of the victory spread through galactic communication networks. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive scavengers began reconsidering their assumptions. The galaxy's newest spacefaring civilization had announced their arrival not through conquest or diplomacy, but through their unique ability to take discarded pieces and create something greater than the sum of its parts. The New Dawn set course. For Earth, carrying with it proof that true strength comes not from superior technology or overwhelming force, but from the courage to see what others cannot, and the wisdom to know that sometimes the most powerful weapon is a willingness to believe that impossible is just another word for hasn't been tried yet. Behind them, the Kepler graveyard continued its eternal drift through space. But now it held a different meaning. It was no longer just a monument to forgotten wars. It was the birthplace of something new, a testament to the power of hope, ingenuity, and the simple human belief that anything broken can be fixed if you're willing to try hard enough. The end